Unemployment continues to have a devastating impact in communities. A new study has found that unemployment is the single biggest cause of homelessness in the Tshwane Metro. The Unit for Street Homelessness at the University of Pretoria conducted the study in partnership with the Tshwane Homelessness Forum as well as the city of Tshwane. Professor Stephan de Beer is the author of the report and he joins me now to tell us more. And Prof, thank you so much for your time. Good afternoon to you. Where do the numbers sit and stand, just as far as the total number of people counted who are homeless in Tshwane?
But we counted in all 7 regions on a specific night, and we counted just over 4,100 people. That's a little bit lower than what Stats SA's 2011 figures gave us, but our methodologies are also slightly different. So we reckon that between 4,100 and 5,800 is more or less the amount, but the number of people we counted on the count night was 4,100 and just over that. We also, about 70% of the people counted also participated in a survey that we think is actually the more helpful part of the project, because that gives us certain trends. It shows us concentrations of people in different parts of the city, and also give us causes, the duration of people being on the streets and so forth. So we think that's even more important than the actual number.
Yeah, and let's get into that because that's also quite insightful. I mean, the causes, the reasons why people are homeless and how much long they do stay on the streets. What have you found?
Yeah, so of course, people didn't only cite one reason for being homeless. So most people gave 3 or 4 different reasons that I actually worked together to land them in a very risky situation. But at least 43% of people indicated that unemployment is the main reason why they are homeless. About 23% of people indicated a form of alcohol or substance use. And a smaller group, 15 to 18%, said loss of a loved one, family trauma. So those 3 are some of the main reasons why people are. And I think that's also symptomatic, of course, the economic one, of course, is symptomatic of where South Africa is, just in terms of the unemployment rates. So if you are homeless, if you sometimes do not have, you haven't finished school, etc., chances and the likelihood of landing a job easily is tricky. Which also raised questions for us then in terms of the kind of services providers provide, because the assumption that if a person stays in a shelter and within 2 or 3 months they will suddenly land a job in the current economic climate of South Africa is a bit unrealistic. I think it underscored, I'll just say that, it underscored again that we often blame people who are homeless for being homeless. Instead of recognizing the deeper systemic causes of homelessness that has to do with lack of affordable housing, lack of access to employment, etc. And I think this underscored it for us again.
Right. With reference to the date as well, Prof, perhaps just share with us how many accounted, to COVID-19 as a result of homelessness and then being homeless.
That was a smaller actually, because there is the thing going around that we definitely have many more people homeless as a result of COVID. From what people told us, about 1 to 2% of people who are now homeless is directly as a result of COVID. So it's actually a small percentage that, at least in Tshwane, it might be different in a place like Cape Town, and people have reports that it is different in Cape Town. In Tshwane, a very small percentage of people directly attributed it to COVID-19 and the effects of it.
You also worked, I understand, in conducting this research alongside the Unit for Street Homelessness at the University of Pretoria. That's where you are, but also the city of Tshwane. Did the survey perhaps reveal how homelessness further exacerbated societal negatives such as drugs and further alcohol abuses on the streets, and what these homeless people actually endure and go through while homeless?
Well, I think one must just say also, this was not in-depth interviews we had. The focus was on the count. The survey didn't ask all the sub-questions. So what it gives us is wonderful data to work with that we can now engage a little bit further. So, for example, we haven't clearly asked people who say they are unemployed whether they were ever employed before or whether they were never employed. Those things we didn't ask because the nature of the survey, also because we intruded in people's lives late at night, the questions were such that the survey was a 5 to 6 minute exercise with 12 specific questions.
Right.
So, but it gave us enough to work with to go deeper now. I think one of the trends that it showed, and it's important for the city as well and for the Homeless Forum, which consists of NGOs and people with experience of homelessness, is how it helped us see how the concentration of homelessness started to shift from the past, where it was mostly focusing in the center of the city. We have sizable populations of homeless people in places like Mamelodi, Mabopane, Bronkhorstspruit. The same kind of numbers in Bronkhorstspruit is what we have in George, in the Cape, or in Stellenbosch.
Right.
So in one small part of the metro, we have a large number. And often there's not a good alignment between investment of resources, services, shelter in those spaces. So that's a definite thing that the data helped us see. And hopefully the forum and the city and Gauteng and others who participate in providing support to help people get out of homelessness will use the data to say, well, there are areas that are actually completely underserved.
Right. Well, we appreciate you speaking to us about this, Prof. Quite insightful, the data. Professor Stephan de Beer from the University of Pretoria speaking to us this afternoon about how 41% of those they surveyed attributed unemployment as the reason they were homeless out in Tshwane. There's various areas within the metro of Tshwane where they conducted this research. But we'll have